Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, April the 5th, 2016. Good to have you all here for our first and only show of this week. Apologize for the late start here as we experienced some technical difficulties on my end. Could not get my internet to work. It's been a prodding kind of process today. A lot of slow internet and issues. So I do apologize for the late start here today. Again, this is our first and only show of this week. Before we get going on all the stuff, all the information you need about this week, about tonight, all that good stuff, allow me to remind you the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS5, which represents our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast, or feel free to use anything with hashtag ITS in it. Like we talk about wrestling, they want to respond to something we're doing with wrestling, hashtag ITS wrestling, hashtag ITS basketball, whatever you want, be creative, have fun. Let's use hashtag ITS, that's all I ask. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our page upon finding it. All right, so without further ado, here's what the deal is for tonight. We have a very full show here tonight, quite a few things to get through. We got a mix of sports, entertainment, and wrestling coming at you here tonight. On the sports side of things, we will talk about the Final Four, last night's incredible national championship game. We'll wrap up our discussion of the college basketball season. Look ahead to next season, all that good stuff. And that'll be on the sports side of things. Anybody looking for a baseball preview? Again, as mentioned last week, we won't be doing that this week. We'll be doing that more than likely next week on probably next Tuesday's show. So stay tuned for that. So on the sports side of things, it's going to be a college basketball situation. That'll be pretty much it. Okay. I got to text my co-host here because apparently he doesn't realize I'm on. Sorry about that. Again, so on the sports side of things, all college basketball. And then on our entertainment side of things, the usual deal, box office beat, TV highlights. And then tonight we're also going to unveil the latest rankings from our American Idol all-time performance rankings list that you all helping to put together by voting. American Idol series finale is this week, so we will announce the latest round of cuts, and then in a week from tonight we will announce the final list performance rankings list. I decided it'd be better to do it after the finale, so we'll do that on next Tuesday's show. So stay tuned for that. That's the first thing we're going to do. I'm going to let you all know what those rankings are first and foremost. We'll get to that in just a moment. And then that's on the entertainment side of things. And then on the wrestling side of things, we'll talk about WrestleMania 32 Fallout, last night's Monday Night Raw, and that will be our show here today. This is our only show of this week. We are preempted on Thursday, so please do keep that in mind. There will be no show on Thursday night. We'll be going back to our 2-show format next week. And what's coming up next week, we'll be back to our normal format. So sports on Tuesday, entertainment on Thursday. So on Tuesday, we'll do a little bit of wrestling as well. Sports wrestling, I should always say it that way. It's more descriptive. On Tuesday, we'll do a baseball preview and any other sports headlines we have to cover. And then next Thursday, and then some wrestling stuff. And then next Thursday, we'll do our usual entertainment stuff, TV highlights, box office beat, and entertainment news discussion. That will be next Thursday. So that's what's coming up next week. So normal week next week for the most part, except for the baseball preview on Tuesday. So that will be next week. This week, again, one show, that being here tonight. My co-host Mike is on the line, on screen, I should say, or on the air here. So Mike, you're in the spotlight. How you doing? Congratulations to you on Villanova. Got your T-shirt on there.
Also, fuck you for making this long.
Well.
Also, I want to say this. We have been preempted for the men the last 2 weeks, and the women have their final game. The women have their final game in 2 minutes, and we have a double show. You chauvinistic pig!
Oh my God!
How could you?
I didn't.
Sexist asshole!
I didn't mean to. Oh my God! I never realized that.
We have double investment in this game. Yeah, we have Breanna Stewart, the star Connecticut player, 3 national championships, 4-time All-American for Connecticut. She's a local player. She went to Connecticut, done big things, won 3 championships. So, she's a Central New York person, okay?
Right.
And they're playing in their very first appearance.
Right.
Their very first appearance in the Women's Championship on top of their very first appearance.
You're right.
In the Final Four. On top of their very first appearance in the Elite fucking 8. On top of their first appearance in the Sweet 16. We are talking about Quentin Hillsman's Syracuse Orange women, who did better than the guys this year.
Yes.
So we are missing. We have a double investment in this game, and you are making us miss it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh my God, really?
You sexist jackass.
I didn't do it intentionally.
Yes, but unfortunately,
I couldn't plan ahead for this. I didn't know we'd make it. I didn't know. Jeez.
I didn't know we'd make it. What's more important, Brian? What's more important? Syracuse, UConn, which I'm hoping isn't a blowout. The odds say it probably is, but which I'm hoping is not a blowout, or whatever the hell we got on Thursday. Was it American Idol? Who gives a shit about American Idol? Nobody watches American Idol.
Wait. I'm not preempting Thursday for American Idol.
What are you preempting it for?
I'm preempting it just because. I'm honest to God not preempting it for American Idol. I'm not even kidding. I decided it's a weird thing because we've been doing these one show. I have a fixation. A lot of people notice I'm very OCD. Okay. All right.
You have no idea what that even means, but
I am OCD. But here's the thing. I don't like the
Brian.
What? Oh my God, you are horrible today.
Brian. No, the truth is you are not OCD. You just have a preference. There is a difference between obsessive compulsive disorder and whatever the fuck you have.
All right, whatever. Anyway,
Don't bring that hot garbage, the hot garbage in this wheelhouse, because you know, I might just be the one person who call your bullshit out because I'm the one person with the fucking knowledge to call you out on that.
Wow,
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not going to tell you anything. You won't let me even say anything. Good Lord.
Go ahead. Say I'm wrong.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm very.
Say it wrong.
Oh, for crying out loud. If we could get the show started, we might be able to be off the air in time to watch most of the game. But the way you're going right now.
That is a lie, sir. But go ahead.
Okay, you don't even know. All right, look. Basically what I am is this. I don't like it when I don't like it when we're on an uneven number of episodes, and I know we don't put the episode number in the description anymore. We don't do it, but I do count the episodes. I like to know that for milestone reasons. And we are on an uneven amount, and it bugs me. It really truly bugs me. And also this, okay, because of the fact that see, now I just lost my train of thought again. I just thought it would be better, given the fact that, we have a lot to get through tonight. We would have had a lot to get through tonight anyway. So I thought, we'll just do one show, give everybody a little bit of chance to breathe. And I have a lot going on this week personally. And Mike knows I work at a AAA ballpark, baseball ballpark. I'm going back to work on Thursday. I'm going back to work on Thursday, whether they get the game off or not. I'm operating under the assumption that I'm going to be working a longer shift on Thursday. And I have my regular job too. I didn't know if I'd have the time to prepare for the show on Thursday. So that also played into my decision as well. So that's the reason why that we're preempting on Thursday. I haven't preempted the show for American Idol in 4 years. So there you go. But I do appreciate the fact that Mike thought that was the reason why, because I would have done that 4 years ago. That wouldn't even been a situation. But
and 4 years ago, I wouldn't complain. This year, let's be honest here, I'm probably not going to complain. I just like giving you grief.
You just like giving me grief.
And I love how one of the things he said is I have one of the things I almost jumped in and said effeminate, metrosexual, going gray, hairline receding. I would have gone with all of these things before what you said, which is I wasn't listening, so I don't know what you said. Anyways, we have to talk about the biggest story at the moment. How shitty Batman versus Superman did the second weekend.
Well, we will talk about that.
Because
we'll talk about...
let's be honest, Brian. Nothing else big happened in the last 48 hours other than Batman versus Superman being absolutely terrible at the box office, proving everybody right. Nothing else happened.
Yeah.
Nothing else, huh?
Wow. A lot of other things happened, but we'll okay, listen.
Wait, I need my... Oh, fuck. Sorry, I don't have a Shinsuke Nakamura shirt I can show, but I would if I did.
Well, yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. So here is the deal for tonight. Again, we're gonna start. I'm gonna read you the latest rankings. Okay. We got a top 30 here for American Idol performances. Okay. We'll have another, and then we're gonna open up the voting for another wave of cuts. We'll take this down to the top 15, which is basically like one per season. We had a couple ties, so it's gonna end up being over 30. And then that will be this will be the list that I'll give you tonight, and then you all can vote over the next week. Actually, over the next 2 days, and then Thursday we'll cut off the voting. Actually, I take that back. You have a week to vote, and then next Tuesday we'll cut off the voting because we'll have a show next week. It doesn't make any sense to do it Thursday because you forget about it. And then next Thursday we'll unveil the final list, the In the Spotlight American Idol all-time performance rankings list. And in that list, we'll actually rank them in the top 15. We haven't been ranking them. We're not going to rank them tonight. We've just been kind of giving you the list of the top vote getters and just reading them off to you. We will, on the final list, we will actually rank them from 1 to 15. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so here you go. Here is the latest listing of voted on by you all for the all-time performance rankings for American Idol. There you go. Okay. All right. Now, for those that have voted so far and don't want to continue to vote, if you ask to vote, if you want to continue to vote or you want to jump in on this, you can jump in on it, but you have to ask me for the list so you can vote on it. All right, so keep that in mind. If you haven't voted before, if you already voted, I will send you the list so that you can vote again. If you haven't voted, you have to send me that you want the fact that you want to be involved, and then I will send you the list. You can't just, obviously, you're not going to be able to memorize everything I give to you right now. So you got to keep that in mind, okay? All right, so here you go. American Idol all-time performance rankings list as of right now. Again, we will drop this to 15 by next week. All right, here's the list. Pia Toscano, I'll Stand By You, Season 10. Lakeisha Jones is Ain't a Love Song, Season 6. Clay Aiken, Solitaire, Season 2. Philip Phillips, Home, Season 11. Jordan Sparks, I Who Have Nothing, Season 6. Carrie Underwood, Alone, Season 4. Chris Daughtry, Hemorrhage, In My Hand, Season 5. Jennifer Hudson, Circle of Life, Season 3. Joshua Vedette, This Is a Man's World, Season 11. Elliot Yamin, A Song for You, Season 5. Blake Lewis, You Give Love a Bad Name, Season 6. Bull Boyce, In a Dream, Season 4. David Cook, Always Be My Baby, Season 7. Melinda Doolittle, My Funny Valentine, Season 6. Haley Reinhart, Benny and the Jets, Season 10. Chris Allen, Heartless, Season 8. Adam Lambert, Mad World, Season 8. Fantasia Barrino, Summertime, Season 3. Tamara Gray, A House Is Not a Home, Season 1. Kimberly Locke, Over the Rainbow, Season 2. Women Started a Whole New World, Season 2. David Cook, Hello, Season 7. James Durbin, Will You Love Me Tomorrow, Season 10. Haley Reinhart, The House of the Rising Sun, Season 10. Kelly Clarkson, Natural Woman, Season 1. Allison Irahita, Crybaby, Season 8. David Archuleta, Imagine, Season 7. Clay Aiken, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Season 2. Lakeisha Jones, And I'm Telling You I'm Not Going, Season 6. Fantasia Barrino, I Believe, Season 3. Carrie Underwood, Angels Brought Me Here, Season 4. Catherine McPhee, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Season 5. Adam Lambert, The Tracks of My Tears, Season 8. Philip Phillips, Volcano, Season 11. Kelly Clarkson, A Moment Like This, Season 1. Adam Lambert and Allison Irahita, Slow Ride, Season 8. Crystal Bowersox and Read the Wise, Falling Slowly, Season 9. David Cook, Billie Jean, Season 7. Again, there's over 30 there because of ties. Again, if you have already voted, you will receive from me tonight the latest list, this list that I just repeated to you for voting. You will decide you will vote for a top 15. Okay, so rank them top 15. All right, whatever you vote for number one first will get the most votes. Just like we do with the award shows we do. So if you put something at number one, that will get 15 points, and if it gets 15, it'll be 1 point. Okay, if you have not voted, you have got to submit to me a request for the list, a ballot request essentially, and I will send you the list and you can vote on it. You will have until next Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time to do this. And then next Thursday, we will reveal the final list, the top 15 American Idol all-time performance rankings for our show here in the Spotlight. And we'll unveil that list. And again, that will be the only time in this process that we'll actually rank them. We'll give you the actual votes from top to bottom, how they did, what was number one, what was number 15, that kind of thing. So keep this in mind. Again, and I only want you to do this by email. So email at itspotlight401@gmail.com. If you are voting, again, if you already voted, you will already be in the system. I will send you this list. If you have not voted already throughout this process at all so far, then if you want to participate, you're still welcome to. Just send me an email saying that you want the rankings list so you can vote, and I will submit to you that list, and then you can submit that by next Tuesday so your votes can count. Again, rank them from 1 to 15, this list. Rank your top 15, and we'll go from there. All right? So there you go. That is the all-time American Idol performance rankings list as of right now, and then next Thursday we will reveal the final list for you all again, and voting ends next Tuesday for that. So keep all that in mind. All right, so with that, we are done with that. All right, so what we're going to start with is, well, since we're in entertainment, we'll stay in entertainment and just finish this stuff off. That way we don't have to jump around because, the entertainment stuff doesn't have to take very long. So we will jump into the box office beat. We'll do that first here. And my co-host is 100% right. Wow, that's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. I'm seeing in Mike's graphic right there. That is pretty awesome.
I had to find some way to incorporate Shinsuke Nakamura, so I did.
Nothing wrong with that.
I did, because let's face it, out of everything that happened at WrestleMania, and we will talk about this later, he was the best part.
No question about it.
All weekend.
No question about it. An awesome match, but we'll talk about that later. All right, so we're going to talk really quickly about the box office because here's the thing, folks, okay? If you look at the box office last weekend, the story is this. Every positive that Batman versus Superman had in its first week, and it was a positive, whether you like the movie or not, it was a positive. Now, some might argue, well, wait, it did nothing historic in its first weekend except for what it did worldwide. Well, okay, even the worldwide number, you can see a negative. It's because it did well in China, which a lot of comic book movies have not done well in China. All right, so that clearly helped Batman vs. Superman break a worldwide record in its first weekend. So there's that. But still, it was a positive. It was an overall positive number for DC in that first weekend. It was the highest grossing superhero opening. So that's a big positive for them, and they were off and running. Well, every positive that movie had going for it in week one went downhill in week two. And the signs were there. The signs were there for it in its opening weekend. You saw it. Friday's number was good, but Friday's number also included Thursday previews. From Friday to Saturday, it dropped. Now, look, if you're a big budget movie like that, I don't care what time of year you come out. If you drop from Friday to Sunday, that automatically opens up the thought process that you're going to be a very front-loaded film. Like Harry Potter, the Harry Potter movies have been in the U.S., like a lot of, like the Hunger Games movies, you're going to be a front-loaded film. You're not getting over with the mainstream. It's just the big fan base that comes out of curiosity. And of course, those that really want to see it for whatever reason, they come out early, and then that's it. But if you're already dropping off from Friday to Saturday, even the best movies, the big movies, the ones that are very good, the big blockbuster movies that break records even drop off from Saturday to Sunday because Sunday is naturally a lower business day. So if you're already dropping off from Friday to Saturday in your opening weekend, that bodes trouble. And that's what was happening with Batman v Superman. Dropped off from Friday to Saturday. Obviously, they had that significant drop from Saturday to Sunday, which happens for most movies. And then you drop from Sunday to Monday because you're heading towards a weekday. Its Monday number was actually the highest grossing, I think, Monday number of all time, which, again, in March, that's going to happen. But as the week went on, more and more and more, it dropped off. More and more and more, it dropped off. Everybody thought this weekend going in that it at least maybe get to 78. I mean, look, you made $170 million in opening weekend. And you're the only major film out. You have no competition whatsoever. You got all these IMAX theaters, all these RPX theaters, all these digital theaters. You got all these things going for you. 3D. You're Batman v Superman, and you can't even manage to only drop half of your profit. You drop off more than 50%. You dropped off 69% in your second weekend. You dropped from 170 to $51.3 million. I don't care if you're a bad movie. There is even the Transformers movies don't drop that bad. It dropped. I mean, Transformers movies dropped like maybe 40, 50%. This movie dropped 70% in its second weekend, with no big movies coming out. Now, the only other movies that came out were God's Not Dead 2, which did about what you thought maybe low end 5 million, high end 10, 11, 12, made 7.6. That's good enough. That's good.
And God's Not Dead 2 came out the weekend after Easter.
Yeah. I guess it was because there was there's been a lot of Christian movies lately, so I guess it's trying to distance itself from it.
Yeah, well, that was the one that was a surprise hit, and it came out the weekend after Easter?
Mm-hmm.
Why? This is not smart. I mean, it did all right, but the weekend after Easter.
Yeah, it didn't help matters either that Miracles from Heaven in its third weekend still made $7.2 million. So that kind of cut into its business. You figure if that movie wasn't out, it probably would have did about 10, 11, 12 million. But
pretty easy actually.
Yeah, so it kind of split the audience up there. And that's a really good number for Miracles from Heaven its third week. That's a really good number, 7.2. That's very good. But other than that,
Miracles from Heaven 2, more miracles.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that in 2018.
The only other big movie that came out was Meet the Blacks, and that only did $4 million. And again, that had the potential to flop. Outside of that, the story was Batman v Superman. Zootopia did incredibly well in its fifth week, only dropping 20%. It's up to 19.3. It was at 19.3 million. It's not showing any signs of slowing. I think it's at 800 million worldwide now. It's doing tremendous business. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 held okay. 37.2 drop off. That's not too bad. 11.2. That's actually pretty solid, right around where you want to be. So the storyline for everybody else wasn't that bad. I mean, Allegiant's still doing pretty badly. They had a decent hold, but then again, it didn't have the opening the first 2 weeks that it needed. So everything now is going to look like a negative. It did 5.7 last week. And 10 Cloverfield Lane's not doing too badly at all. But really the storyline is this. Zootopia is doing very well. Everything else did okay. Meet the Blacks flop, but that was no surprise. Batman v Superman is the story, and when you have no competition, here's the thing too: it gained 14 theaters, and it still dropped 70%. This boggles all cinematic logic for this kind of movie. I don't care. Well, it does. I don't care how bad of a movie you are. When you gain 14 theaters, you have no mainstream competition at all for a movie like this, and you're in the first week of April, and all this promotion. I don't care if you're a bad movie or not. You're freaking Batman and you're freaking Superman, and you drop 70%. It's you know, and a lot of people have made some good points too. You know, well, it doesn't help that the movie's so long, you know, and if it's a bad movie, less people are gonna push to see it because it's a longer movie. If the critics are panning it and fans are panning it, it's that long of a movie, you're less likely to take a chance on a movie that's being looked at that badly if it's 2.5 hours. If it's 90 minutes, you might go, maybe they're wrong, I'll take a chance on it. But 2.5 hours is too long to sit there if it's already being panned as a bad movie. It's too long. So I can see that playing into it, but boy, how the scope has changed. You know, a week ago, Warner Brothers was starting like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter what the critics say. It doesn't matter that people are coming out thinking it wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be. It doesn't matter. We still made 170 million and then 400 and some change worldwide. Well, what a difference a week makes, because now they're sitting here on Tuesday, April the 5th, looking at a movie that's made 697 million worldwide, 263.6 million domestic. And this weekend, if it makes 25 million, it's going to be lucky. Which means this: it's not going to hit the $500 million mark for sure in the U.S. It's going to struggle to get $1 billion worldwide, and that's a drop off from the Nolan movies. That's a drop off from the Marvel movies. It's not touching Avengers, either one of the Avengers movies, what it ultimately did. It's a failure. Now, they're going to paint it like, oh, you know, it did well. You know, it's been hard, you know, growing pains, the audience. It was maybe too dark. Maybe it was a longer. They're going to try to paint it as a positive that this movie did as well as it did under the circumstances. But here's my thing. This movie was delayed several times. It took forever to come out. And this is what you get, and this is what happens. And there was this point, and I don't know how many of you saw it, that apparently it got out from several entertainment news sites that apparently said that the film has to make at least 950 million worldwide just to make a significant profit. If that's the case, then it's in trouble. First of all, if that's the case, then they got some serious spending issues.
Yep.
That's right then and there. I don't care how big. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's not even cost efficient. I don't even know. Like that shows you how apparently cocky they were about this movie. But still, that's a problem. And you're going into filming this Justice League movie when all you read about on online is the fact that DC and Warner Bros. Have some major doubts about Zack Snyder now, as they should. They should have had doubts before this movie even came out. So I think that's the storyline. What this shows you is this. It's right now, based on the way it dropped off from week 1 to week 2, this movie will drop off significantly again. If it makes 25 to 30 million, it's incredibly lucky. It's dropping incredibly across the board. It's the whole game for this movie has changed, and where it's going to rank. Look, even as bad as it was a week ago, I would have said it would make $1 billion easy worldwide. It's not. I don't think it's going to do that now, and it's not going to make $500 million domestic either. It'd be lucky if it gets to 400 million, and that's even a stretch at this point. Here's all you need to know: it's not even going to come close, more than likely, to what Deadpool did in the U.S. Deadpool.
Which was a better movie anyway.
Oh, well, no question. But if you had told me 3 months ago whether it was a better movie or not, if Deadpool would beat Batman vs. Superman by this much, I would have said you were crazy. An R-rated comic book character that, you know, look, he's very popular, yes, but would the mainstream embrace him? Well, they embraced them, and it's not only is it the better movie, it's going to significantly be above Batman vs. Superman in profits as far as this country goes. And that makes me happy. That makes me happy. So that's the story. And that's the headline. And that's going to be the headline as we come out of the third weekend as well, because there isn't any other big movies this weekend. Hardcore Henry's coming out, which I guess could actually hurt Batman versus Superman. If somebody, look, the concept is a cool concept. If you read the reviews, the movie itself doesn't seem like it's that good, but the concept is interesting enough to people that they might come out to see it. So that could hurt Batman versus Superman. Now, there is, I shouldn't say there's no big releases. There is a movie called The Boss, a comedy from Universal opening in 3,481 theaters, starring Melissa McCarthy. So if there's any women that we're going to probably run up to Batman v Superman, they're not going to be coming out. They're probably going to be checking out The Boss. Because Melissa McCarthy does well with the female audiences. So that movie will probably do at least good business. And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if that movie beats Batman versus Superman. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think it will, but it wouldn't surprise me. I could see it making maybe 17, 18 million in its opening weekend. And then if Batman v Superman ends up dropping more than we all anticipate, which it did last weekend, mind you, then it could actually take number one. I'm thinking we're going to see Batman v Superman make about maybe 25, 26 million, maybe 30 on the high end. And then The Boss, you're going to look at 17, 18, maybe 20 on the high end. Hardcore Henry is an interesting case because it's not, again, the movie itself is not getting good reviews, but the concept seems like it's interesting to people. I've seen a lot of people say they just want to check out the movie just to see the concept of it and see how it works. I could see that movie doing about 12, 13 million. If it surprises, it could pull in 20. But as it stands right now, I think you're looking at Batman versus Superman at 25 to 30 million. The Boss at 18 to 20. Hardcore Henry maybe 13 to 15. You know, and then you'll have Zootopia probably around 10, 11. My Big Fat Greek Wedding around 8, 9 million. God's Not Dead 2, Miracles from Heaven around 5 million, and everything else under 5 million is what I think we're looking at. So, and then again, the headline coming out of the weekend is going to be Batman v Superman, probably disappointing again. So, Mike, do you have any thoughts on last week or this week?
Last week or this week? Maybe I should look it up. Nothing on last week because I don't care. This week, Batman versus Superman crashed epically. Zootopia did really, really well. I have yet to see that movie. I kind of want to. The Boss might actually be Batman versus Superman. Melissa McCarthy might topple the Giants, which would only be good ahead of Ghostbusters if you think about it. I already said my piece on God's Not Dead 2. Probably should have come out like last weekend. Especially since Miracles from Heaven's in its second weekend and God's Not Dead 2 actually, this is a sequel of a well-received movie. Probably could have done bigger business closer to Easter. So I'm a little surprised. Especially since God's Not Dead 2 and Miracles from Heaven pretty much split the Christian audience. The Divergent series is crashing and burning horrendously. And, yeah, there's really not much to say other than, God, Batman vs. Superman is crashing epically, and Melissa McCarthy might beat it next weekend. Or this coming weekend. Regardless, DC needs to be in panic mode now. Yes, they'll probably hit $1 billion, but they should have hit $1 billion like this weekend.
Yeah.
Like this oncoming weekend, they probably should be passing, or this week, they probably should have been passing the $1 billion mark worldwide. The truth is, bad word of mouth, bad critical reviews. Most of the critical reviews are negative. It had the same critical score as Tommy Wiseau's The Room. And from what I understand, The Room had a more satisfying conclusion. And acting. And storytelling. And directing. With that being said, though, and you know what? And people were coming out of Batman versus Superman. You did have opinions across the board. People are like, oh, this movie was the best movie ever, all the way down to, dear Lord, I walked out because I was so depressed. I had to get kicked in the balls to feel again. If that is the range of reactions to your film, I would be very concerned. Because look, you're gonna have people who like your movie or hate your movie. Just how it is. You're never gonna please everybody. However, more people came out of that movie disappointed and just be like, this is a waste of 2.5 hours. Everything was shoehorned in. It's just to set up Justice League. Good Lord, this could have been done better. Oh, wait, it was. It's called Marvel.
Yeah.
So, and look, if you can't get $100 million on the second weekend and your head characters are Batman and Superman, time to hit the panic button.
Yeah.
Because you can't go right into Justice League right now. You can't. They're going to, but you can't.
And you want to know what the most worrisome thing is? Even if you were like, if they want to take the approach that, well, you know what, it's maybe by the time Justice League comes out, a lot of the negativity will be gone, and we can start fresh. No, they're releasing that movie next year.
There's no way.
They're releasing Wonder Woman in June. They're releasing Justice League Part 1 in November. They're releasing that movie next year. By that point, people are still going to be negative. And it's the sad part. It's probably going to hurt the Wonder Woman movie because people are going to take it out on that movie.
Unfortunately so, yes.
So that's you've really, unless you show the audience that you're serious about doing something to change this for the right reasons, for a positive reason. Like, say if they come out and say that, you know what, we're going to change directors. Zack Snyder's out, we're going with somebody else. Then that might give people some hope that, you know what, they recognize that this was not the right way to go about it. Then they might give other things a chance. They might go into Wonder Woman with an open mind, which I hope they do, because I think that's going to be a better movie. I do think that.
Yep.
You know, and Suicide Squad's coming out in August. But here's the thing. Suicide Squad's done everything it can to distance itself from Batman v Superman. It's done everything it can. Like, they've had people come out saying, oh, it's a separate thing. Yeah, there's some connections, but it's its own movie. It's its own thing. They're really trying to distance themselves. When your own properties are trying to distance themselves from each other, you have an issue. You have a big issue. So we'll see. I mean, look, it's gonna be an interesting, fascinating kind of thing. And here's the thing, you know, the whole idea behind releasing it when they did was so that they wouldn't have any competition for a few weeks. And the idea was they'd build themselves up so much that when the competition started arriving, they would be okay. Well, guess what? Even if they managed to beat Melissa McCarthy this week, they got the Jungle Book the week after. I mean, competition's coming. And then it's going to be trouble. And then by the time Captain America Civil War comes out, they're going to be pretty much done. At the rate they're going. Actually, they probably will be done. The rate they're going. So, all right. So that's the box office beat. So, in other words, the Batman beat.
Final note. If you want to see a not disappointing Batman versus Superman, you can go and watch this. You can buy it on Amazon. It's rather cheap. It's the animated Batman Superman movie called World's Finest.
Yes.
It is literally the start of the DC animated collection. It has Mark Hamill. It has Kevin Conroy. It has who is it? It's Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor. George Newman or something, I think his name is I forgot what his name is, but he plays Superman. It's everything you could want. Everything you could want from that movie.
Much better.
Yep, and if you want it, it is $4.99 on Amazon.
So much cheaper than a movie ticket.
It is $4.99 on Amazon. And unfortunately, however, you need to spend like $45 to get free shipping. So the Amazon's really trying to fuck you.
Yeah.
It's trying to fuck you. Or if you really want to see a good Batman movie, might I suggest Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, or of course, any of the Nolan ones. Or maybe the first two Burton ones. So there you go. I'm dropping alternatives because I care, people. Because I care.
All right. So we end that Batman versus Superman bashing session. And we now move on to the TV highlights of the week. I'm going to be very quick because there wasn't a whole lot on TV this week. I mean, I watched a lot of basketball, and that was pretty much it. But there were a couple of things. I'm not going to cite last week's Age of the Suit. I thought it was a good episode, but it's not extraordinary by any means, so I'm going to leave that one alone. The only thing I'm going to cite this week is, and I know it's a very controversial thing to cite this, I will bring up Walking Dead because here's the thing. Other than the ending, which I'm sure by now, even if you didn't see the episode, you know all about the ending. The episode itself was actually really, really good. If they actually went ahead and did the ending the way they should have done it, it would have been probably the best episode of Walking Dead, one of the best ever. It's just that they didn't, and I understand creatively why they felt the need to do it. But you're already the number one scripted show on television. You do not need to do that. It's not necessary. It's an iconic scene. It doesn't need that. It doesn't, it was Jeffrey Dean Morgan was absolutely amazing. You couldn't have casted better in that role. The final 11 minute scene, which was all him and it's a long monologue, with basically no music, was a fascinating thing to see. The way it built up throughout the episode, the tension was building. There was this feeling of dread. It was the horror movie aspect was in full force there. The Carol Morgan thing had a very satisfying conclusion, I think. Not necessarily a conclusion, but it went in a very satisfying direction, I should say. It was a really, really good episode. Build up, play to the comic book a little bit. I was very happy with it to the final scene. And it's not even the way that they filmed it with the point of view. The point of view thing was a good way to do it. I just wish they had given us an answer. You do not need to do a Game of Thrones here. It was the worst thing they could have done because by the time you get to July, you're going to know who it is anyway that gets killed. You're going to know. It's a pointless thing to do. Yes, you're going to get the scene in full in October and all its iconic glory. At least you know that much, but it shouldn't have been done this way. It shouldn't have been done this way. But anyway, it was a very good episode. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it yet and maybe you've been turned off by the idea of knowing what happens at the end, don't be, kind of take it with a grain of salt and watch the entire episode. You will enjoy the episode. Just the ending is just not what I think any of us really would have liked. That would be the only thing I highlight this week. I'd say check it out. If you're a Walking Dead fan, check it out. Mike, go ahead. TV highlights.
Oh, God. Let's see. Well, let me put a bookmark there. God, what did I see this week? I was really happy with Arrow this week. I was really happy with Arrow. Excuse me. It was less than an episode behind. I'm not quite sure. Was the last one the whole thing where they had to lure out Cupid? I believe that was the one.
That's the last one I watched, so it has to be the one. I think, yeah.
I think that's the one where they luring out Cupid. And it's always good to see, Cupid again. And they kind of played DC's stupidity with Deathstroke, or excuse me, Deadshot. Tied it into the story really well, surprisingly. I'm pulling up season 4 because I'm not sure. No. It was Beacon of Hope. Beacon of Hope. Yes, I was actually very. That one was actually a good one. That was actually a pretty good one. The Cupid one was really good because I love the fact they're not going back to Oliver and Felicity. Felicity is just she has turned into taken this character, this quirky, interesting character in season 1, and you've turned her into this hypocritical, shadow of herself that you rushed into just to pair with Oliver, and she hasn't changed. No. She hasn't changed. So I'm glad that as of right now, they're not going back to it. I'm really happy. Especially since it's like him and Katie Cassidy. Stephen Amell and Katie Cassidy, once the spotlight was kind of off their relationship in season 1, which was just forced. It's like the only relationship in this show that seemed natural and kind of well received was Oliver and Sarah Lance. That's like the only one that seemed like natural and organic. But Olicity had to happen, so we can't have Sarah. She's currently traversing with the Legends of Tomorrow. I haven't seen anything with that. But this one was good. It had Curtis. They kind of used Curtis a little bit more in this episode. They kind of went in a different direction with him. But it was very interesting. It took a Flash villain, and you brought her over to Arrow, and you made it very, very interesting. So yeah, Arrow was actually really good this week. And I'm really, really ecstatic. Really, really, really ecstatic that they are not going back to Olicity. And we're doing more with Damien Dark. And we have something interesting to do with Malcolm Merlin. And there was a big twist at the end that actually worked. You know?
Yeah.
That one was really nice. I want to say was the Flash Supergirl crossover this week. Or did we talk about it last week?
I think we talked about it already. You talked about because you said it was actually they had felt like that you had gotten the sense that they enjoyed having him on the show, and you already talked about it. Like they were devastated when they had to write him. Yeah, I remember you talking about it. So yeah.
Yeah. I remember like he so literally solved all the problems, and he was like the best part of the show. And when he was gone, the show kind of started again. Oh, was it Trajectory? Whatever a flashback. Flash. The Flash episode this week was actually really, really good. It was really, really good. Where we had to travel back in time to learn from Eobard Thawne, who is Dr. Wells. Mm-hmm. It was really, really kind of an outstanding thing. And you know why I did something in this episode, and I'm going to spoil it, so just heads up. They did something in this episode that kind of redeemed one of their mistakes that I felt that they did in the first season, which was they fixed the mistake they made with the Pied Piper with Hartley. They made him like a member of Team Flash, essentially, where now we can use the Pied Piper in a role that we're all familiar with the comics, the current comics era anyway, or the post-Flashpoint era, after he played The Show Must Go On and blew up Apocalypse. You know, it exists. Go read it. So we actually fixed that mistake with the Pied Piper after a series of events where he manipulated the past, like Hartley Rathaway is just, he's a good guy now. And it actually feels right. And it's really, really, really outstanding. So big credit to Flash this week for fixing something that originally kind of went wrong. That they had to do, but they did something better. So Arrow and Flash, right decision making this week. I can't wait to see where they go from here because excuse me. Because the big events happening on Arrow, we're gonna find out who dies.
I've been seeing all the promotion for it. Yep.
And Flash, we're gonna see, with him and Zoom. I think there's gonna be a showdown with him and Zoom, and we're gonna find out the truth because Zoom is not who Zoom says is not who they think he is. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
yeah.
You're absolutely right. And the thing, and look, we have a big reveal on Arrow on Wednesday, which has been the whole season, really, more or less, been building to it. And a lot of people are kind of surprised it's not happening later on, like in the finale. But yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the Flash has really kind of come out of its mid-season kind of hangover a little bit. Arrow had one good episode. I'm hoping that's the start of it, but it took a while.
Two good episodes. The Cupid episode was good.
Well, yeah, okay, okay, but still, I feel like Flash got out of it a little quicker, to be honest. But we'll see. Hopefully, they keep building themselves up, and it'll be a good ending to this show. Because here's the thing: Arrow started off really good this season. The first half of the season was fantastic. And then it kind of dove off a little bit, and then Flash kind of dove off with it, and now they're kind of coming out of it. So hopefully it keeps happening. All right. So that's TV highlights. All right, so that's end of entertainment stuff for the night. Now we're going to jump into sports, and really what is our main event here tonight in terms of sports is, again, it's all going to be college basketball. And look, a lot can be said about this Final Four. There's a lot of negativity going in. Oh, the worst Final Four ever. Oh, the only team that people care about in this is North Carolina. Oh, that Syracuse doesn't belong there. Whatever. Okay. And of course, Oklahoma people thought should belong there too. It was really Villanova and Syracuse that took a lot of the lion's share of, which is interesting to me because Villanova was a very big pick in the preseason to get to the Final Four in the national championship. So it's interesting to me that so many people thought this Final Four was going to be. Now I understand that a couple years ago we had a Final Four in Houston that was awful, bad shooting percentages, just awful. So I went into this thinking it wasn't going to be the team's fault that we'd have a bad Final Four. Maybe it would just be the environment because that's what happened the last time. Well, as we all saw in the Villanova-Oklahoma game, shooting percentages were not an issue, at least not for Villanova. As Villanova put on probably the most dominant display by a team in the Final Four that I've ever seen in that game. Oklahoma's a very good basketball team. Ron Kruger's a hell of a coach. They play good defense. They have a star in Buddy Hield. And Villanova absolutely dominated that game in all aspects across the board. Obviously, when you shoot 71% from the field, you're not going to lose. It was one of the best shooting displays. It was one of the best, most dominant performances I've ever seen, not only in the Final Four, but in tournament history. Just an absolutely dominating performance. That game wasn't even close. Obviously, Syracuse, North Carolina wasn't close, and that kind of fed into everybody's belief. Oh, it's an awful Final Four. Not necessarily for the reasons we thought, but because there were two blowout games. Don't act like we never had blowout games in the Final Four before. Like we've had them before. Okay? And I know that for some people that was an indictment on Syracuse. It's not an indictment on Syracuse. North Carolina's that good of a basketball team. Syracuse is not deep enough to deal with North Carolina. Syracuse is gets out rebounded. The teams that gave them trouble all year were teams that rebounded the basketball. That's why they couldn't beat Pitt, and that's why ultimately they would lose against North Carolina because they didn't block out. They do not have the rebounders to block out. It was
they had rebounders, but they got stuck into foul trouble.
Right. Well, that doesn't help.
Stuck in foul trouble a little bit. No, it doesn't help. And the other thing is, and this was Oklahoma's problem too.
Right.
If you come out and have a poor shooting night, you're not going to win. Long story short, yeah. Syracuse couldn't find the bottom. It's not like Carolina is an exceedingly great defensive team. They're not.
Right.
They really, really were not. Carolina is an exceedingly great offensive team. And they've seen the zone twice this year. Could Syracuse have beaten Carolina? Probably. On this night, however, when Malachi Richardson was off, when Michael Benajay was off, when the only player who decided it was a good idea to score in double digits was Trevor Cooney of all people, you're not going to beat North Carolina. And Carolina gave them opportunities. It's just Syracuse failed to capitalize on a lot of those opportunities.
Oh yeah,
and then when Carolina kept getting their second chance points because they had a solid big. And that's what counted. They got second chance points, and Carolina put them away that way. It's not like they hit threes against Syracuse.
No. They had a
Carolina beat them inside. I mean, yeah, they got a couple lucky ones, but Carolina strictly beat them inside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's been their thing all season. That's been the thing that's killed Syracuse all season. They run into a team like that, they don't win. But I think to your point, you're right about this, too. Syracuse needed its stars to perform. Trevor Cooney, everybody knows. I think most people know my feelings about Trevor Cooney. I'll never be high on him as a player, but he gave him everything he could give. 22 points. He came up big. He kept them in the game in the second half. But if Benajay wasn't going to score, then you're not going to win because you need your 20 from him. You needed a little bit more out of Leiden and Malachi than you got. Look, that's just the bottom line. They just didn't score enough. That's the thing. They have got to score. Their defense, I thought, did good enough. Because North Carolina's a tough team to hold down off the scoreboard. And look, that game was very close early on because because Syracuse was making shots, but also because North Carolina was playing abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, and Syracuse in that moment when they were making shots had opportunities. Syracuse could have easily been up 10, 15 points at that point. But there was some sloppy ball handling. There was some turnovers, and that ultimately hurt them too in that first half. So, look, the bottom line is North Carolina was just a better team. I think if you listen to Jim Boeheim, it was a good assessment. They're just a better team. They're more depth. They have more depth. They man the boards better than we do, and that's the thing. And here's the other problem: Syracuse can come back and from big deficits against a team if they can do full court press. You can't full court press North Carolina because they like that. They want to be sped up. You make it a quick back and forth game. They like that. North Carolina's going to play like that the entire game, and Syracuse doesn't want to play like that the entire game because they only got 7 guys.
Yeah.
So that's why this is a bad matchup for them, because if they do get down 10, 12 points and they try to put on a press, you're just playing right into North Carolina's hands. Whereas with Virginia, it was a big, big plus in Syracuse's favor because Virginia hates that. So, that really was in a lot of ways, a difference there. And, it was a good effort. It's a good effort. North Carolina was just better. And in the first game, look, Oklahoma go ahead.
I was about to say, only on that night, they were better. You know what? If Syracuse's stars came out to play and the 3-point shooting was on, you know what? Despite all of that, more of a game.
Yeah.
That's just the long and the short. If Syracuse came to play, if not that they didn't come to play, Syracuse. If they found the basket more, if those guys, let's say Benajay gets 18, 20, Leiden's got 15, Malachi's shooting anywhere from 12 to 20, then we've got more of a game than we got. And likewise, we're going to go to Oklahoma and Villanova right now. Look, Oklahoma just had a bad game. It was a combination, they couldn't find the bottom of the net, and it was also Villanova's defense, which was staggering. Oklahoma gets a lot of second chance points. Villanova, however, had some of the best offensive efficiency in the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
There were no second chance points. Villanova didn't let you rebound the ball because they scored on the first possession almost every time down. Oklahoma needs the rebounds. Oklahoma needs the extra opportunities to kind of get Buddy Hield going. He couldn't get going.
That's the key. That was
Villanova just they outscored and outplayed Oklahoma, but Oklahoma had a shitty game.
That's the one time you don't want to lay an egg. That's where you do not want to lay an egg. It's in the NCAA tournament because you go home if you do. And
it was the worst possible time because I know a lot of people were saying like, oh, can't wait to see Buddy Ball versus UNC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't wait to see the best player in the tournament versus one of the best teams in the tournament. However, when Villanova does not allow second chance points because their offensive efficiency is at that point record levels.
Right.
record historic levels, you can't do anything about that.
Right.
Even then, we go to the championship game. They still shot like 56% offensive efficiency.
Well, that's what you
and
take.
Someone's like, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say is like, they're like, oh, well, North Carolina almost beat them. Like, that has nothing to do with offensive efficiency.
Yeah.
That has more to do with free throw shooting and you know, I don't even know if they out-rebounded Villanova. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I think the thing
I'm
that
looking it up, but
I think the thing you say, like, look, you know, the best player in this tournament only scores, 9 points in that game?
Yeah.
9 points in that game. That's all you need to know. Look, you contrast that with Villanova shooting 71% from the field. You're not winning. It's just, I think that's a simple thing. They laid a collective egg. They just didn't have a good night, and it comes at the worst possible time. But even if they had a good night, I think Villanova would have beat them because they're shooting 71% from the field. Who the heck's going to lose the game when you shoot
71% from the field, and not only that, 61% from three.
If you shoot 50% from the field, you're going to probably win. Honest to God, like you see, most teams in college basketball, they shoot 50% from the field, they win the game. I don't care who you're playing.
Yeah, Oklahoma offensively rebounded Villanova. However, Villanova shot 71% from the field.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
There weren't offensive rebounds to be had.
No, if you're making the shots, what you do? I mean, and here's the thing too: Oklahoma does like to do runouts. They like to do runouts. They get a lot of shots for Buddy Hield off of runouts. Well, if Villanova's making shots, you ain't getting runouts.
Yeah.
So it's that easy. They just got it was and honestly, you know, these two teams, people forget that. I mean, both these matchups in the semifinals were rematches. Villanova met Oklahoma in November, and they got destroyed, beat them handily. And don't think that they didn't use that. They thought about it. They looked back at the film and they said, okay, in November, and Villanova was a completely different team in November.
Yeah.
They were a completely different team. Villanova really did not come into their own until the middle of January. And then I think they took it to another level when they lost to Seton Hall in the Big East tournament. Because since that point in the NCAA tournament, they were the most impressive team from start to finish in every game. Every game they played, they showed you something. They were dominant. Their defense was dominant. It was the best defense I've seen a Jay Wright team play since he's been there. Because the one criticism we've always said about Villanova is they didn't know how to play defense without fouling, no matter what kind of team that they had. This year, they found a way to do that. They found their niche in the tournament. They made shots. Their shot selection in this tournament was absolutely amazing. They did not take bad shots, and that's why they were efficient. They took good shots. Everything was in rhythm. The offense, they let it come to them, and that's why they won these games. And they had the hardest journey of any team in the Final Four.
Yep.
And if you look at the statistics, it's one of the hardest journeys ever in tournament history to win the NCAA championship. They just did a phenomenal job. And there's nothing else you can say. And honestly, they should have been a 1 seed. The only reason why they weren't because they lost at the wrong time. They were a 1 seed.
Yep.
I mean, we said you and me talked about. We said it all year. They were a 1 seed. I think most people agree they were a 1 seed. Just that they lost and they couldn't justify putting them on the 1 line because everybody thought the Big East.
But they could justify. They could justify Virginia though.
Well, that one still, I don't understand.
They justified Virginia.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think they should have been there. I can understand why Oregon was there.
Nope.
I don't understand why.
Well, look, Virginia probably did deserve it at one time, but to win the ACC, and they didn't.
See, here's my thing. Villanova won the regular season Big East title. Even if Villanova lost in the title game. But look, if my opinion was the only other team that deserved a 1 seed over Villanova was Michigan State. Because they won their tournament and they won their regular season. I was expecting, you know me, on that day I was expecting Michigan State to get the 1, not Oregon or Virginia. Michigan State should have been, actually, honest to God, Michigan State and Villanova should have been on the 1 line. The other two should have been on the 2 line. That's the way it should have went. But apples and oranges now. Look, the bottom line is Villanova was impressive. They beat Oklahoma handily. You know that they used that game from November. They were a different team. And then you look at last night's title game, which was, in my opinion, I watched the game back, the whole game back, because I DVR'd it. Obviously, Mike knows we watched the ending of the game.
Because we were stuck watching Raw.
Yeah, well, look, that game from start to finish, if you haven't seen that whole game, if you get, I think it's going to be an ESPN Classic in a day or two. I think I read something about that. But look, if you haven't seen that game, please go see it. That was probably the best championship game in recent memory. Big shots, good runs, back and forth, good shoot. Both teams making shots. It wasn't, if you like a good back and forth game with a good play, good solid play by both teams, it wasn't ugly to watch. It was a fun college basketball game. And you're never going to get a better ending than that. And I was telling Mike this yesterday, like we were watching the end of the game. This college basketball season could only end on an ending like that. Only could end on an ending like that. With all the buzzer beaters we've had, with all the upsets, with all the parity, with all the crazy things that have happened in this season, the only way it could end is something like that. You have Marcus Page make a shot he had no business making. It looked like a three-quarters court shot that he took from the three-point line that went down to Villanova. And I'm going to give so much credit. I think it was a design play. I think I heard Jay Wright mention it was a design play. But still.
No.
Was it?
It wasn't a design play.
Okay.
What it was is, the thing is, Jay Wright said the only part of that design was give the ball to Archie Diacono
and let him make the decision.
Give the ball to Arch and let him make the decision. That is the only thing that Arch got the ball and he decided. And let's face it, he saw Chris Jenkins wide open in rhythm, ready to go.
Perfect pass. And that's what I like about it. Go ahead.
Justin noted this last night too, and I want to point this out. And before that, and after that, I want to go back really quickly, really quickly. Justin pointed out, and this is just good IQ. Archie Diacono, what he did was he passed the ball and provided not a moving screen, but just kind of like a block. Almost a block, just kind of he blocked the guy as moved out of the way. Went out of the way, kind of creating it kind of a barrier right there and letting Jenkins just do his thing. That's just high basketball IQ right there. So it worked out really well. And what I was really quickly. Sorry.
Okay.
What I wanted to say real quickly is even before that, when you talked about the Marcus Page shot.
Yeah.
Nova had a 3-point lead. 3-point lead. Carolina would come down, shot, they'd make it 2. It was Bryce Johnson in the middle, rebound, make it 2. Wasn't fouled, which was the big thing. He wasn't fouled. Villanova comes down, gets fouled, as they should have. They break both free throws. That's all you can ask. They make both free throws. Comes down, contested shot. Bryce Johnson gets another one. Villanova 1-point lead. They come down, get fouled. They make both free throws. Literally everything you could hope for in that situation.
Right.
It's like, holy shit. Is he going to keep waxing poetic about this? No. Well, yes. But the point is, like, Villanova did everything right in that situation except for what happened with Ochefu, where he kind of – and look, that wasn't – everyone's like, oh, Ochefu's going to feel really bad. He's going to feel really bad if that goes in. Look, he just kind of – he went for the ball and tripped.
Right.
He went for the ball and he tripped.
Yeah.
And and Archie Diacono was kind of running right at him. Archie Diacono was running right at him. He missed him, thank God. And Marcus Page did this double pump, awkward shot that as you said, had no, and it went in. It had no business getting in there. But hey, it went in. And Marcus Page almost became legend because of that.
Crazy shot.
But It was a crazy shot, instant timeout. Got the ball to Archie Diacono, who is a senior point guard, has senior instincts. His boy, junior Chris Jenkins, wide open, in rhythm, perfect pass. It went up. That's the season. That's the championship. And Villanova, 31 years. I have to say, it's not 30 years now.
Yeah.
It's 31 years after, because you know what? This year I'm going to be maybe that age. 31 years after Nova Raleigh wins it for him. Jay Wright brings it home. And you know what? Jay Wright had to deal with a lot. I don't know if you remember the whole phone card scandal. I was reminded of this. The whole phone card scandal. He was on the hot seat once or twice. You know, it's hard to imagine now. He's brought a lot of success to Villanova. A couple number one rankings, won a couple Big East.
Yeah.
But, you know, well, actually, didn't he win one Big East?
I thought they won a big
regular season.
I mean, they've won a couple of regular season. Yeah, no doubt.
I think they won the Big East championship last year, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right.
That was the first time in forever. Like, he was on the hot seat once or twice, especially since 2009 to get out of the first round. Especially since they got boned by that fucking phantom call. I would like to call this one the Revenge of the Wildcat and fuck your phantom calls. Which is ironic because this game initiated too. However, as pointed out by Jay Williams and Jay Billis, who are really, really smart guys. Both teams this time. Want to give a shout out to them. It was bad for both teams, unlike last time where the referees were deliberately in the pocket of North Carolina, which was so maddening, so frustrating. It was such bullshit. It was never a foul. He didn't touch anything. Still frustrating. But they finally get revenge for that bullshit. Oh, fuck you, Tim Higgins. Fuck you.
Well, they finally got their revenge in dramatic fashion.
They finally got their revenge. Yes. They whooped North Carolina.
Well, here's the thing.
And it was a brilliant game. Brilliant game.
It was absolutely, if you haven't watched the full game, watch the full game. Back and forth action, tremendous. First of all, I want to give the officials, just brought up how there was a previous North Carolina Villanova game that the officials completely botched. In this game, I got to give the officials a lot of credit because I thought they let the guys play a good amount. I thought there's always going to be calls that you disagree with, but I thought they did a good job in this game of letting the guys play and not being too. I mean, there were some bad calls, yeah, but they did a good. I think they did overall a good job. The pace of play was great. First of all, we
tried.
Yeah, they tried. I think we can dispel the rumor that you can't shoot the ball well in Houston because this weekend we saw these teams shoot the ball very well. Free throw shooting might have been impacted a little bit. I think that if you can say something, that was still a concession. But otherwise, I thought for the most part the offenses did a good job this weekend in the Final Four. But we were talking about that final minute, and again, that's the only way that a season like this, these championship games in any sport, always seem to be symbolic of the season of that particular sport. They always find a way to be symbolic of that. It's always interesting to me that happens. And this game was very symbolic of this entire college basketball season. Very well played. The quality of play this year in college basketball was so much better than it's been in 5, 6, 7 years. Maybe because you had a lot more seniors. A lot of the elite teams were driven by seniors. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But I think the shot clock change helped. I think a lot of things helped. But regardless, I think you had better players too. But just a great quality of play to this entire game, to this entire tournament, to this entire season. And that moment, look, and again, I want to give credit to Ryan Diacono because a lot of guys would have made that pass. The conventional pass is usually you're passing in front of you. You don't see too many guys pass behind anymore. unless they're on a way to the basket for a dunk or something. Then you get it. But to pass behind you on a 3-point shot like that, you don't see that often anymore. That's a very Mike noted. It's an instinctual thing, and it's something that probably only a player that's been around as long as Ryan has, at least in college, would think about. And that's an advantage. That's something you learn as you go. Your instincts improve the more experience you get, and that's why I said, I think if you're a young basketball player, you take a lot out of last night. You take a lot of this whole season of college basketball. You look at all these players. Look at Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's first 3 years, I think he averaged at most like 11 points a game. Look what happened to Buddy in his 4th year. Look at Bryce Johnson. A couple years ago, Bryce Johnson's on nobody's radar. His senior year, he's a double-double every game. And now this guy's going to be a top 10 NBA talent. I understand that these guys get upsized, the agents get in their ear and everything else, and maybe the rule changed now that they can go hire an agent, go to the combine and try out and still stay ex-college. Maybe that will help. But look, I understand upside and everything, but you know what? Nothing can tell you more about a player than watching them play 4 years in college.
Really quickly.
Go ahead.
Really quickly, I want a sidebar. With the rule change, if the kids hire an agent and choose and elect to go back to college, which is appropriate with this rule, do they still have to pay the agent?
I don't know.
Are they still on the hook for having to pay the agent? Because if they are, then the rule changes nothing.
Well, I think what it does is it allows them to go back to school.
Okay. It allows them to go back to school with extra debt. So they have to pay off an agent on top of their living expenses. Excuse me.
Right. I'm not.
What does the rule really change then? No agent's going to take these kids pro bono. I'm sorry.
Well,
that went in, by the way.
I guess that's your whole. Well, I guess that's your whole thing. You got to take. I mean, it's only going to be a financial risk. I guess that's the whole thing about it. But like I said, I think you take a lot out of this entire season. You take a lot out of last night's game. You look at the way these kids played and how a lot of these kids improved. And you take that from last night. Look at Villanova. Ryan Arcidiacono 4 years ago. A lot of Villanova fans were frustrated with him. Turnovers, bad shot selection, and look at him now. And it just goes to show. I mean, he makes a terrific pass, a very rare pass in today's college game or in today's basketball in general. And look what happens. It was just it was a great pass. It was a great moment. Perfectly timed pyrotechnics there. I would say perfectly timed. Couldn't have done it any better. And then the image of seeing Raleigh Massimino celebrating, crying right as that happens. I mean, just a beautiful. What an ending! What a great game! And just if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's a classic. One of the best I've ever seen in a championship environment, if not the best. That moment will be. You'll see that moment every year now. It was a great moment, probably one of the best moments ever in tournament history. Imagine if Butler had hit their shot a couple years ago. That would have been right up there too. Just a great ending to a great season of basketball. If you didn't watch this season, look, the games, again, the quality of play, the seniors, the leadership, the parity, this tournament itself, I know a lot of people think it started out so well with the Michigan State. There's so much drama. And I know a lot of people, the Sweet 16 was kind of rough to get through. The Elite Eight, look, second weekend, outside the Syracuse games, I think was kind of lackluster. And I'm not just saying that as a home in the Syracuse game, but the only ones that had any drama and anything close going on. It's just the truth. It's the way it was. And then the Final Four, you had two blowouts on Saturday, and then Monday gave you one of the best championship games you've ever seen. So to me, we had a good start. We had a great finish. That makes this a pretty good tournament to me. Was it the best ever? No. but to me it ranks up there. I mean, of all the ones I've seen, because of it had enough compelling drama to it. It had enough going on, and the quality. Look, the bottom line is the quality of play in this tournament was better than any of the tournaments in the last few years. There wasn't too many scoring droughts. There wasn't too many. It was just good. It was just good basketball, and a great season. A great season. And I hope it continues next year. I think the changes that were made, the rule changes, helped the game. I hope more kids stay in school like they did this past year. I think it'll help the game. I hope that we see that next year. And I think next year you're going to have a phenomenal season. A lot of the rankings are out for next year. It looks. Duke's going to have a great team next year. Kentucky, Kansas, the usual suspects. Villanova is going to be back. They're going to keep a lot of their guys. It looks like a lot of them are staying. Syracuse will be back. It looks like they're going to they got a couple transfers coming in and some good players. Syracuse is going to be back. Oregon's going to be back. Some teams are going to improve. Some teams that had down years. I look for UConn to be a force next year. They're already coming into their own this year. And that's just some years, some teams are going to drop back. Oklahoma's obviously going to drop back. They're losing Buddy Hield. If you ask me right now, North Carolina will be in the mix, obviously, because they'll have some recruits that are coming in. Virginia will take a step back, I think, next year. We'll see what Miami does. I think Miami will be in play. The Big East this year, Providence, I expect to be good again. Seton Hall, I expect to show you some good things next year. Iowa State will be in there. I expect a better year from UCLA. I think there's a lot of the usual suspects. You obviously have some surprises, but I can't even tell you who they'd be right now. It's just too damn early. But the usual suspects that I just mentioned, you're going to see a lot of them top 10. Duke, I think, is going to be the preseason number 1. Kentucky, probably number 2. That's probably what you'll see. I imagine Villanova will be around 5 or 6, depending on how many of them depending on how many come back and what they get. There's a couple guys, couple recruits that are still out there that they might get that might push it. But I think right now they'd be. Right now I think I'd say 5 or 6 for them. We'll see how it plays out though. But yeah, Duke's getting the 2 best players in the recruiting class, so they're going to be number 1. So be a good. I'm hoping that we get as good of a year as we did this year, and it'll be entertaining, it'll be dramatic, but it was a good season, and I'm kind of sad it's over because it was just a great finish. It was a great run. Mike, anything to add before we move on?
Brilliant tournament, brilliant game. I am really, really happy Villanova won, by the way. You know. I'm very, very happy Villanova won. Because, you know what? It validates, in a way, Jay Wright.
Yeah.
It validates their decision to hire him. Look, he won the Naismith Coach of the Year this week as well. He was voted, of all the coaches, the Naismith Coach of the Year for the job he's done with all these seniors and making this program an elite program. Excuse me. And now he can say he succeeded his mentor, Raleigh Massimino. He succeeded Raleigh and is man. And by the way, it's reactions apparently it's like hell. We knew he was cool as fuck, but the reaction after they won was just magnificent. It was magnificent. It was
Perfect.
Better than crying Jordan. It was better than crying Jordan. Snarky, Jay Wright. It was a magnificent reaction. It was a big week for Coach Wright. Big week. Coach of the Year, well-deserved. National championship, well-deserved, well-earned, long time coming. So I'm really, really happy for Villanova, Pennsylvania right now because their team brought the second one home. And and you know what? I'm hoping they're going to be competing next year. Similarly, I'm hoping Syracuse can build off of this run.
Right.
and come back next year, especially since Caleb Joseph is he's transferring.
Well, I called that. I thought that was last year. So
yeah. I mean, it was a matter of time with he had no playing time after like the first 10 games this year, and that's not fair to that kid because honestly, we could have used Caleb Joseph this year.
Yeah,
we could have used him.
Yeah,
it's just Boeheim and his ways, but. I'm hoping that Syracuse can compete too, but Villanova is at the top of the world. It kind of brings back, it kind of makes it because we said this when Connecticut won theirs a few years ago.
Yeah,
that it's like they knocked on the doors and said the American is back, American is here, championship. Now you have to respect us.
Yeah,
Villanova winning is like saying the Big East is back. We're here to stay.
Right.
Well, let's go. So it's great for Villanova. It's great for the Big East, the new Big East, the resuscitated Big East. And you know what? And of all of those Big East teams, I'm really, really happy with Villanova because they are the representative. They're more or less the representative of the conference. So, Nova Nation, you've earned it.
It's a good thing. I think I'm glad you brought that up because that was the thing that I think was really interesting was a couple years ago UConn kind of in the first year of the American brought the attention to the American. And the Big East kind of needed that. It's been kind of lost. They're like, oh, the Big East is still there, but it's been kind of lost since everything happened, This brings the attention back to the Big East, gives respect to the Big East, prestige to the Big East. It's going to help a lot. And Villanova can kind of lead that, it's going to be good for that to happen. And by the way, while it's such a Big East, St. John's going to be a good team next year. They got a lot of good talent coming in, so keep an eye on them. They got a lot of good talent coming in next year, so that should be good to see with Villanova in there and Georgetown and just one thing about North Carolina, because they had a fabulous tournament. The only other team that was more impressive than North Carolina in the NCAA tournament was Villanova. North Carolina had a good tournament, and they have a lot of good players on the team. That Bryce Johnson, I think, is a pro. I think he's going to do very well in the NBA. Marcus Page, he never really turned out to be what people thought he was going to be a more consistent shooter. But I'm going to be honest with you, he is a very, very good leader. I don't know if people really got the chance to see interviews with him and the way he interacts with his teammates. He was a very good leader, he seemed like a very good guy, very good person, very well spoken. Everybody did nothing but rave about him. I want to give him props. I thought he did a very good job in defeat yesterday. I thought he was he handled himself. The team itself handled himself with class, and that's Roy Williams for you. But I thought generally Marcus Page, for what he didn't give you on the court, he gave you off the court. He's tremendous. And I give him look. That's a hard way to lose a game. That's a very hard way to lose a game. Especially when you think you tied it. It's a very hard way to lose. So kudos to them to North Carolina for handling that the way they did last night. I thought they did a good job. So all right, that's it for the basketball. We're not going to talk too much about wrestling because Wrestlemania was a bust. As we transition to wrestling, Wrestlemania was a bust. It really was. Good thing you had a good championship game last night because it was a complete bust. Yeah, there were some good matches. There was some AJ Styles Jericho was a good match. The women's match, the triple threat match with Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha Banks was a good match. It's just I don't know about the result, but the Intercontinental Ladder match was fantastic, and at least it featured a really good feel-good moment. I mean, you can say what you want. Maybe they shouldn't have done that in the long term, but that was a good feel-good moment. At least it was a magical moment. And I will say this about
yeah, man. All right, go ahead. I'll say my piece when you're done.
The main event. Look, the result is what it is. We all knew it was coming. If you watch that match, the show ran way too long. I don't know whose idea was that. I don't care if you're trying to avoid Walking Dead or what, but that was the complete wrong way to handle that. But the main event, the match itself between Reigns and Triple H was actually a decent match. You can say what you want about the result. Good storytelling match, but and Shane Undertaker was a great spectacle. Shane doing that spot was crazy, but it was a spectacle. I think it was the right result for the company. So, And I don't think that was his last match, despite speculation. Don't believe that. And you had some great moments. I thought the Austin Foley, Shawn Michaels thing was cool. Cena Rock was cool. I guess Rock asked for it. I don't really care for the booking of that segment, but hey, Eric Rowan can say he had a match with The Rock at WrestleMania, so there you go. As a whole, it wasn't very good. It felt like a filler. It felt like WrestleMania 27 all over again. Filler, not much going on. It was what it was. NXT was easily better. Although everything after what happened with Nakamura and Sami Zayn kind of paled in comparison, and that's not to say that the rest of the NXT show wasn't was bad. It wasn't. It was very, very good. The whole show was very good, but Nakamura Zayn was the main event. It was an awesome match. What a debut! What a great match. Good spotlight for Sami Zayn. I'll defer the mic here before we talk about last night's Raw. You can talk about WrestleMania and NXT. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, wait, I'm talking about WrestleMania and NXT?
Yeah, well, since it's easy to compare the two because of the fact that one was easily better.
Well, all right, here's what I told my coworker today, who is also a wrestling fan, who also has the network. I told him, I'm like, look, have you seen WrestleMania yet? He's like, no, I'm going to watch it tonight. Have you seen NXT yet? I'm like, no, I really should start watching. I'm like, all right, you should probably start with this NXT Dallas show and do yourself a favor. Watch NXT after WrestleMania. Because if you watch NXT before WrestleMania, like we didn't have much of a choice, you're going to be disappointed. WrestleMania had some great moments. Yes, Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental title, as much as it hurts me to say, was a feel-good moment. And everybody knew his title reign was not going to be long for this world, but it's the moment that mattered. The kid won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. He heard his music play twice. He got to celebrate with his dad in the ring. Kevin Owens is laying there like dead. It was a great moment for Zack Ryder. Should he have won the match? Fuck no. That title should have been on two people, Zayn or Owens. That's it. Nobody else should have come close because now we've got the Intercontinental title embroiled in this Miz versus Ryder feud, which seems less important than Owens versus Zayn. But it was a feel-good moment nonetheless. The Divas came out and had the best wrestling match on the show. They came out, went 15 minutes, and fucking had a great wrestling match. The problem is the wrong person won. Because now here we are. Sasha and Becky have had their opportunities, and we're stuck in a filler feud with Natty Neidhart. Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why? The wrong person won. And you know what? You told me that there were some rumors that Ric Flair lobbied Vince to have Charlotte win the new title.
Oh, that's the theory. That's the theory. But
I mean, I'm saying it's rumors and scuttlebutt. However, it's rumors and scuttlebutt that I'm inclined to believe because nobody had Charlotte winning up until a couple of days ago. A couple of days ago, a couple of days before the pay-per-view. Nobody had Charlotte. Charlotte had no business even winning the title. Her reign, she was either to pass it on to the top face of the Divas division, which is Becky Lynch, or she was to pass it on to the top diva in the Divas division, which was Sasha Banks, other than Paige. So it was to either go to one of those two. It should have gone to Becky Lynch at the Rumble. End of discussion. If this was your outcome, Charlotte should have lost the title at the Rumble. And it should have gone to Becky there. Because now you've almost devalued Becky and Charlotte. Excuse me, Becky and Sasha. Because but at least Sasha had a moment on Raw. Becky got to stare at Charlotte and then walk away. Which was a terribly booked segment, by the way. That was a shit segment on Raw. Embarrassing. I couldn't, you know what? I was paying attention to it, and I figured my time was better spent looking at my 3DS. That's how bad that segment was.
Right.
So it was a great match. Wrong person went over. AJ Jericho, it was fine, but if AJ Styles is going to challenge Roman Reigns at the next pay-per-view, why didn't he beat Chris Jericho? Why didn't he beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania? That made no sense, because if Jericho's going to win at WrestleMania, it implies you're going to get another month at least out of that feud. Now you don't. You kind of move on. It's like Jericho won a feud. He didn't need to win this feud. I don't understand that. I don't give two shits about the Usos. I thought the league winning it. I was one of the few people who thought the league winning at WrestleMania was the right decision. I did. I thought it was the right decision. Because the New Day needed a kick in the pants. They needed some way to kind of be motivated. And if you're going to use the League of Nations effectively, they need to get a big win somewhere. Why not WrestleMania? The titles aren't on the line. It's 3-on-3. And Wade Barrett's out there. And by the way, Raw kicking Wade Barrett out of the League of Nations is a stupid fucking decision. I don't understand why they do it. Why they did it. Wade Barrett's contract's up in June. Why do you need to kick him out in April? Especially if you're fighting the Wyatts. The fuck? Anyways, but I think I might be the only person who cares about the League of Nations, which is terrible, because I think they have a lot of potential. It's just that they've been misused. They finally get a big win. They eat 3 finishers at WrestleMania, and the New Day still get to celebrate after they get their asses kicked. I don't know. Although I will say Foley, Michaels, and Austin doing their shtick was great. I wish Austin came out in the boots and the trunks, because hell, Michaels showed up in wrestling gear. Why couldn't Austin? Foley came out ready to fight. Why couldn't Stone Cold? The Rock segment went way too long, but as I said last night, at least Eric Rowan now gets to say, hey guys, guess who I wrestled in my first WrestleMania match? Go ahead, guys, guess. Guess who I wrestled? Did you wrestle The Rock? I wrestled The Rock at WrestleMania. Sure, I lost in 6 seconds, but I wrestled The Rock. Yeah. That's the thing. Did it suck for Eric Rowan that he lost in 6 seconds? No. Let's be clear here. It would have been Luke Harper anyway if it wasn't Eric Rowan. If Luke Harper didn't get injured, because now Eric Rowan gets to do all of the Luke Harper shit. Because Braun Strowman's still too green and Bray Wyatt's still too injured. So it is what it is. But I mean, did that segment go on too long? Yes. However, it was fine. It was inoffensive. Cena came back. He got him on the card. They actually cheered John Cena. Shane McMahon versus... All right, I will say this. Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker is what Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose should have been.
Right.
Because Dean Ambrose took 1 F5 on the chairs, and that's it. All this build-up about Dean Ambrose being indestructible. Eats 1 F5 and 13 suplexes, and he's out like a bitch. He didn't even show up on Raw. What's the point? You're making out... He should have eaten at least 2 F5s. At least 2. As if he had done that, at least you could say, well, it took 2 F5s to beat Dean Ambrose. But I will say this, though. Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker was the best spectacle at WrestleMania. It was the best spectacle. Everybody's going to remember Shane McMahon falling through the table. But the match itself was pretty good because they took the time to build up Shane McMahon as a legitimate threat to The Undertaker. Like, legitimate threat to The Undertaker. And there are times during that match where he said, oh, God, Shane could do this. It's like, oh, wow. No, Shane could win. So, and then we get, what, Roman Reigns versus Triple H. Look, it was 11:40 something at night. when that match ended, 11:45 or so when the match ended. I had to be up at 5. Justin, who was watching the show, actually was up. It was called in to work at 3. It went too long. The show went too long. Oh, before I say the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, Baron Corbin winning was a good idea. It was a good idea. Good way to get him a big win. Make him kind of important right off the bat. Which you negated on Raw, by the way, but hell. I will say this though, the match itself, from what I kind of saw, was actually fine. It was a good Triple H WrestleMania match. Roman Reigns is inoffensive in the match. The problem is, everybody knew he was going to win. Vince McMahon had to get Roman Reigns his WrestleMania main event win. He got the belt at WrestleMania in the main event, and that was one of the predictable things. The other predictable thing that happened is he got booed out of the building.
Yeah.
You went off WrestleMania with your face champion getting booed out of the building. WrestleMania wasn't great.
Mm-mm.
The Raw after wasn't great. Raw last night was not that great. There were moments that were great. Don't get me wrong. There were moments on that Raw that were great. Cesaro and that Fatal 4-Way in the main event was fantastic. Because I'm going to talk about this real quick, and then you're going to talk about it. And Cesaro being the surprise was fantastic. I will say this. Enzo Amore and Big Cass Cummings was really fantastic. They cut a hell of a promo. It was easily the most interesting thing that happened all show. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. I saw a tweet that said if every segment should end with Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens just fighting. And you know what? You're not wrong, because it was the other most interesting thing on the show. Zack Ryder losing to The Miz, we knew it was going to happen. Good for The Miz. He gets his 5th Intercontinental title reign. I wonder how long this one's going to last. At least he's got Maurice with him. So at least there's that. I don't even know. Last night's show was Baron Corbin should have pinned Dolph Ziggler in the ring. He got counted out. Said, "You're F. This is your fault. What's going to happen to him?" Dolph Ziggler fought back, and he ate an end of days. It was. Oh, and Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews is fine. I like Apollo, but Raw, nothing happened other than AJ Styles became the number 1 contender, which makes the WrestleMania thing stupid. I did. I will say this, though. If you're going to watch NXT after WrestleMania,
yeah,
better show. Nakamura versus Zayn was the best WWE's had in at least a year and a half. Shinsuke Nakamura's got money written all over him. Sami Zayn and him had a fucking war. It was brilliant. Don't be disappointed. Asuka and Bayley had to follow that match. And they held their own. That was the best. And I think that was the best Divas match all weekend. Asuka's got money written all over her, too. She is brilliant. Don't blame Finn Balor and Joe for their weird match. You're going to get another match out of it. I think it's going to be better. American Alpha won. Austin Aries beat Baron Corbin. Both those results were good. The matches were great. Look, NXT top to bottom fucking rocked WrestleMania. End of discussion. If you're going to see one match from WrestleMania weekend, do yourself a favor. Go watch Nakamura versus Zayn. It was the best thing they had.
Right.
All right, Brian. The floor is yours.
Well, again, I don't argue with anything you said about NXT. I mean, and look, we didn't really watch the Hall of Fame thing, but obviously Sting announced his retirement, and I heard that was actually a good special. So, I mean, good event. So that's there. But, you know, NXT was from top to bottom, like you said, was a great, great night. WrestleMania, you mentioned. I think I mentioned my thoughts about WrestleMania already, but one thing I forgot to mention was Brock versus Ambrose. And look, that I think it's pretty obvious what happened with that match. They didn't want to outshine Taker versus Shane, and the problem with that is, you shouldn't have booked that match to be a street fight. You should have booked it as something else. I mean, I don't know what you book it as, but I mean, if you're not gonna let it go, you're not gonna let Ambrose and Lesnar go crazy on each other. What's the point of the match?
And you know what you do? You don't book it as a street fight. You book it as a last man standing match.
Exactly. There you go. You
book it as last man standing match.
So yeah,
and that way you could kind of get over Dean Ambrose more.
Yeah.
And by the way, Nakamura's theme song is finally on iTunes. Guess what I'm buying right now?
Yeah. But like you said, that's what you do. I mean, look, there are other moments. Brie Bella got her moment. I don't know why Ryback versus Kalisto was on the pre-show, but it was.
And
look,
nobody saw it.
Yeah. Look, it was it was. I mean, it wasn't the. I mean, there were some results. You mentioned the AJ Styles thing. What was the point of that? If you know he's going to be the number one contender Monday night, then you don't run that result. It defeats the purpose, which means it tells me that they didn't know he was going to be the number one contender. Because if they did, they wouldn't have done that. But I digress. So, I mean, I've already made my thoughts on WrestleMania clear. As for Raw last night, I actually thought it was a very good Raw. It wasn't the conventional after WrestleMania kind of Raw with big things. The big things were the NXT debuts and the return of Cesaro. That was the big things. Apollo Crews had a nice little intro. Baron Corbin continued. Baron Corbin's moment at WrestleMania is probably one of the better ones, as was Shaq being in the Battle Royal. That was pretty cool. But
that was pretty cool. I didn't mention that, but you're right.
That was pretty cool. But you had Apollo Crews debuting. You had Baron Corbin, and the only problem I have with Baron Corbin is, I think, like you said, I think he should have beaten Dolph Ziggler. I think that's the only problem I have with it. But I mean, I appreciated the promo. I thought he came off okay, so I don't have an issue with it. I thought most of the segments worked well. The Shane McMahon thing, Vince thing, was weird. I think they should have came back to it. I don't understand why they did it. If it became like an afterthought after the first 15 minutes. I mean, I understand Triple H and stuff here kind of selling the angle here, but I don't understand what the point of the Shane McMahon thing was. But I digress. The Divas thing could have came off better if it was handled better. It didn't. I don't understand why they'd immediately go to a filler feud here instead of trying. My take on it is, if you're committed to Charlotte and you don't want Becky and Sasha near her, but you want to get them away from her, what really you should do is do one more match and have Becky and Sasha kind of come to blows and one of them cost the other the match, and then you have a little mini feud again with those two. While Charlotte moves on to Natalya for a little bit. If you want Charlotte to have this longer reign, then do it that way. The way it ended last night was kind of stupid, to be honest. But that's another issue I had. The number one contenders match was great. I don't mind AJ winning. I thought Cesaro probably should have been the guy, but I wouldn't have Cesaro win unless he's going over Reigns, and I'm not convinced anybody's going over Reigns at this point. Although it does seem I think it's obvious from last night that they are embracing Roman Reigns as a heel. Because they didn't even try to hide it last night. They didn't mute the sound last night. Roman Reigns was acting even more like a heel than he usually does. And putting him against AJ Styles, they know he's going to get booed. So I think they're fully embracing that. Now, maybe that's because Cena's back, and I don't know what the plan is there. I'm really shocked he wasn't on Raw last night, but I don't know what the plan is there. But he'll pop up sooner or later. The cool thing is they got a lot of feuds now. You got Zayn Owens, you got the Miz thing. And look, Zack Ryder is a feel-good thing. Obviously, that was something that they just did for WrestleMania. I think the only reason why Miz won the match is because Maurice is back and she's going to be on Total Divas and they're trying to get that over. I think that's the only reason that happened. I'm kind of happy because it gives Miz something to do. I mean, look, good for Ryder, but I mean, at least they're all going to have something to do for a little bit, at least. And I don't know if you mentioned this, Mike, but I think you forgot a critical part of Raw last night, which was the best part of Raw last night, and that is Enzo Amore and Cass.
I mentioned Enzo and Cass.
You did? Okay. All right. Well, all right.
I mentioned, and not only that, I mentioned the fact that I thought they were the best part of Raw last night.
The best part. Okay, I'm sorry. I must have. Okay. That must be what.
And one more thing, I do agree with you. I think I said it last night. Cesaro should have been the guy who won that match.
I mean, if you're gonna, but see, if he's gonna win, I want him to beat Roman.
Yeah, no, I feel like he should have beat Roman because you know what that cements the heel turn. I'm sorry. I think AJ should beat Roman.
I think so too, but he ain't going to.
No, he's not. I think Jericho's going to cost him, but
yeah, I think that's why they did. I think that's the only reason why they did it because Jericho's going to cost them. I think this was their way of kind of extending the AJ Jericho feud without people getting sick of it. They'll give it a month break. But they won't do it on a pay-per-view. They won't do it at Payback. They'll do it at Extreme Rules. You know what I mean? I think that's just their way of kind of giving you a breather before they revisit the feud again for the last time. And it gets Roman Reigns through a month at least as the title holder. I think that's why they did it. So, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good run. And Enzo Amore and Cass were fantastic. That whole segment with the Dudleys was amazing. And obviously that's going to probably build to a match. And New Day will probably have a title defense against. I'm thinking there's going to be rumors of a triple threat with the League of Nations and the Wyatts. Or New Day probably goes over one more time before they eventually transition it to Enzo Amore and Cass because they're going to get it. They're the guys that are going to take it. I thought the Wyatt thing was fascinating because it was a Wyatt face turn essentially. I thought that was fascinating. I've heard rumors of it for a while. I thought that was a good thing to see. League of Nations, look, the fact of the matter is, who knows what's going on with the Wade Barrett thing. I don't know if he's going to ever be seen again. I don't know what the deal is. I don't think I should have did it this soon, but it is what it is. I didn't think it was a bad Raw. I thought there was good story progression. They set up a lot of matches. We already got a lot of good matches I think they set up a bunch of good mid-card matches, upper mid-card matches. You got Miz Ryder, you got Zayn Owens, you got the League of Nations and the Wyatts and the New Day and Dudley Boys versus Enzo and Cass. I mean, there's a lot of things going on now. I think for the first time in a long, long time, they actually have a lot of feuds going on to kind of fill up the show. I mean, that's a good thing. They haven't had that in a long time. They've been kind of just throwing random stuff at you. Baron Corbin and Ziggler, they have a lot of things. That's a good thing. And we haven't even gotten into the U.S. title thing with Ryback and Kalisto. I'm assuming that might not be over. So, there's a lot of things there. I thought there was a lot of positives and there were a few negatives. I don't think it was horrible. They've had worse. It just wasn't what people normally expect. It wasn't the big kind of thing. Like usually there's a big return or a big shocker. There really wasn't any of that last night. So I think that's probably why people felt a little bit differently about it. I saw some positive reactions. I saw some negative reactions. Ultimately, though, for WWE, it wasn't a good weekend, except for, outside of NXT and maybe a few aspects of Raw, which you could attribute to NXT. It wasn't a very good weekend. So, but anyway, we got through everything we had to get through. It is 10:15, so we should start to wind down. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting or contributing to our show. You continue to have your voice heard. You can give us your feedback, questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, reactions or comments, things we said on the show, topics we discussed, any of those things. You got topic ideas or breaking news items you want to make sure that we cover on the show. As long as they're related to sports, entertainment, or wrestling, we will cover them. So any of those things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag ITSpotlight411, hashtag ITS5, which is the 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast, or anything with hashtag ITS, hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Basketball, hashtag ITS Box Office Beat. If you want to kind of refer to segments we do, just as long as hashtag ITS in it, be creative, have fun, but just it helps promote us. We just use hashtag ITS and something. So please feel free to do that. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our page upon finding it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show. That's the best way to get information about our show. If you like to keep up with our show, you have a couple ways of doing that. If you're somebody that likes seeing us on screen, likes the live streaming thing, and you're comfortable with Google Plus and YouTube, and you're only really interested in episodes that we have we've aired on Google Plus and YouTube, which is anything from October till now, then you want to check us out here on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. You'll have access to our channels on both sites. And again, only the episodes from about mid-October through now, including tonight's episode, are on there. Nothing from before that is on there, so please do keep that in mind. So if interested, check us out here on Google Plus and on YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. If you're somebody that prefers the audio aspect of podcasting, prefers to hear us, not really see us, and maybe you're interested in our older episodes, not just everything from Google Plus and YouTube that we've had from October till now, but everything from before October. So everything from when we debuted in October 2010 on Blog Talk Radio, all the way through our Talk Shoe run and our Libs In run, any of those things, anything from the last 5 to 6 years of our show, and if you, especially if you are more interested in audio podcast, then whatever the case may be, if you're interested in audio podcasts or interested in any of our episodes from the last 5 years, you can check us out on our main host site, Podbean, or on iTunes. Although keep in mind, different search criteria for both. If you're looking for us on Podbean, search for us with our current title, In the Spotlight 411, and you'll be taken to our main show page. We have access to all the episodes since October 2010, everything from Blog Talk Radio, Talk Show, Lives In, Google Plus, and YouTube, all on there from the most recent date to the oldest. They're all on there for you. So you can check us out on Podbean. And you can also check us out on iTunes. If you're looking for any of our more recent episodes, anything from our Google Plus YouTube days, from anything from October till now, including tonight's episode, you search for us under In the Spotlight 411 on iTunes, and you'll find those episodes there. If you're looking for something from before this past October, so anything from October 2010 through October 2015, you want to search for In the Spotlight with Brian Gardner. That's our old title, and you'll find those episodes on iTunes. We're trying to consolidate that, but just bear with us. That's the only way we can do it right now. So please remember that information. If you're seeking out any particular episodes, make sure you remember that. So a couple ways to keep up with our show. You got Google Plus, you got YouTube, you got Podbean, and you got iTunes. They're all there for you. So if whether you're a fan trying to catch up with our show, or you're a longtime fan that wants to check out old episodes of our show, or a new fan that wants to check out old episodes of our show, not just keep up with our show, but check out old episodes to see what we did before our days, our current episodes and our current days here. Whatever the case may be, those are the ways that you can keep up with our show and check our episodes out anytime you wish. Again, those that want to participate in the American Idol all-time performance rankings, in the Spotlight version of those rankings. Again, if you've already voted, you will get the latest list from me tonight. You'll have a week to vote. If you haven't already voted and you'd like to vote, send me an email. Again, you can only do this by email, this whole process. Send me an email indicating that you want the list. I call it a ballot request. Just send it to me saying I like the list so I can vote for the performance rankings for American Idol. And I will send that to you tonight. And then you'll have the full week to be able to vote on it. Again, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, which is our next show next Tuesday. 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Next Tuesday is the cutoff point. And we will announce the final rankings, the top 15, our top 15 all-time greatest American Idol performance rankings of all time. We will announce that on next Thursday's show. And we'll actually rank them from 1 to 15. You actually know how they rank. So again, you can only do this by email through inthespotlight411@gmail.com. Again, inthespotlight411@gmail.com. So again, just make sure you submit your votes through inthespotlight411@gmail.com. You can participate in this. And again, we'll announce the final rankings on next Thursday's show. And voting ends next Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, which is the time for our next show. So please do remember that for next week. For those wondering, we'll do our baseball preview next Tuesday. We'll also next Thursday, in addition to announcing the American Idol all-time performance rankings final list, I will also finally give you them statistics from the Film Awards that you've all been asking for as well next week. So keep that in mind. And again, next week we will have 2 shows. We'll be back in a normal format. Tuesday will be sports and wrestling. Any sports headlines we have to cover, which will include the Masters, which takes place this weekend, we'll cover. We'll do a baseball preview. We'll also again American Idol performance ranking voting ends 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Tuesday. We'll cover anything from wrestling that we have to cover, baseball preview, and then next Thursday, our entertainment show, box office BTV highlights. We'll announce the final list of performance rankings for our American Idol performance rankings list, and then do some entertainment news discussion as well. That'll be next Thursday. So 2 shows next week, kind of back to normal next week. So please do keep that in mind. All right, with that being said, we are done for this week. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike. No goodbye, Mike.
I just held it up.
Oh,
goodbye, good night. It's time for bed. Let's go.
Oh, Okay, I want to thank myself for another great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you're doing that in archive, we do appreciate that. That is it for this week. Again, there will be no show on Thursday. Next week, we'll be back to our 2-show format. Sports wrestling on Tuesday, entertainment on Thursday. So please do keep that in mind. And so that's it. So I hope you all have a great rest of your week and a great weekend and a great start to your week next week. We'll see you all back here a week from tonight, next Tuesday, which is April the 12th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. 2 days after my birthday. I'm sure I'll be getting some birthday greetings from some of our audience members. So with that being said, wish you all a great rest of your week, a great weekend, a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here a week from tonight, April the 12th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for our next show. Until then, have a good night, everybody.